Hey, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to the podcast. I'm Joe Persinger, and you can find me at Twitter at Brewmaster Joe and Instagram also at Brewmaster Joe. Please don't forget to also like, follow, and subscribe to our Facebook page, YouTube page, and we're also available on Rumble. Please share, comment, do whatever you can to get the podcast out there. It definitely helps with the algorithm. All right, well, what a crazy week of football we had. That Bills-Chiefs game last night was, the last 5 minutes of that game was pretty intense. But what I kind of wanted to talk about was the Green Bay Packers and how all week all I could hear about was, how the Packers are favored. They're going to win this. It's in the bag. San Francisco's got to go on the road. I didn't realize how loud the mic was here. My apologies. And, for me, the Green Bay Packers have shown that they can't get past the NFC Championship. They did one time, and that was against the Bears. So, need I say more there? And also, they also had a really killer defense. They had Clay Matthews on the edge. I think Nick Barnett was their middle linebacker. A.J. Hawk back then, too. That defense was nasty. Charles Woodson is their cornerback. Nasty. And the offense is okay. Aaron Rodgers wasn't what Aaron Rodgers is today back then, but they still eked out a Super Bowl mainly because of that defense. And ever since that defense, Rodgers hasn't been able to do it. And we kind of got a good glimpse into that this weekend. All right, well, before we jump into all that, let's do it. You know what time it is.
Ready, set, podcast!
All right. So we're going to just kind of, go through a few things here really quickly, kind of like the overall records of both teams. On paper, Green Bay was ready to beat the crap out of this team. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's got he doesn't have we saw how bad his arm is. He can throw. I'm not saying he can't throw, but that long ball is not very dependable. And again, we kind of saw a little bit snippets of that. Total yards offensively, believe it or not, Green Bay had them beat. Total passing offense, San Francisco's all the way at the bottom there. Rush yards, okay. I believe Green Bay loses that battle. And then, obviously, the overall defense. Now, this I thought was very interesting. I watched Colin Cowherd earlier today, and he kind of just dismissed San Francisco's defense as this should have been they're the third-ranked defense overall. What are you talking about, Colin? Give me a break. Yeesh. So, I just found this very interesting to see the overall narrative between, the fans on Green Bay. They obviously, this is the year, right? San Francisco fans, they were hopeful as anyone would be going into a playoff game. Just as hopeful as the Bucs were, basically. And it just was pretty crazy to me to see this game ended up being a lot low scoring than I thought it was. As you'll see, I have my prediction here coming up, and it is nowhere near what the final score ended up being. So the big case against Green Bay winning was kind of this, and we're going to look at this. So first of all, they're 6-6 against San Francisco, and that includes the playoffs and the regular season. But if you look over the last few years, they lost in the conference championship to San Francisco. I believe they lost to San Francisco back in 2013, so they're 0-2 against San Francisco in the playoffs going back 8 years. And I think I have that stat written down here as well. I'm sorry, so they're 0-3 in the playoffs against San Francisco since 2013, or since Rodgers has been the quarterback. They were currently on a 2-game win streak against San Francisco, and that was the regular season with no playoffs. But what's very interesting is that they are 0-3 whenever Green Bay has a bye. They lose the division, they win the division and then go on to lose the NFC Championship. And this I thought was very interesting. Oh, here, let's bring up that stat right here. So you can see this is where they're 0-3. And this goes all the way back to basically, now again, this stat is actually specific to when they've won the division outright. There's a few years they were a wild card, and I'm not counting that in this stat. This is just when they've won the division or had a top seed. And usually what happens is they either win that divisional round and they're knocked out in the NFC Championship. And he's been saying, "Oh, I just need a defense. I just need a defense." Well, that defense looked pretty solid this year. Now, what about, what was the case for Green Bay? Obviously Aaron Rodgers, another MVP season, 8-0 at Lambeau Field. This guy's been celebrating Festivus since the beginning of the season. And actually, believe it or not, I know this podcast doesn't look like it has a lot of exclusives, but we're able to get this exclusive meeting that took place between Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay management, and for some reason Mike McCarthy was there. But anyway, let's play that tape real quick.
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
We're always just trying to have fun here, right? Again, with these two teams going at each other, you had a top defense going against another top defense. But for me in the NFL, the way the rules are written, I don't even know if obviously having a top defense helps, but is that going to help you overall in the game based on the way the rules are written? Because, if you have a physical defense, you just have a defense, really, because you can't be that physical in the league. And then, of course, right after the game ends, you have basically Aaron Rodgers doing his best George Costanza. I think we have a tape of that as well, don't we?
Not nice. She's sticking it to me.
You're crazy.
Sticking it to me, Jerry.
George. Sticking it.
Just having fun here, right? Just having some fun. So originally I was going to say at this point that if, Green Bay went on to beat beat San Francisco, that, Rodgers is going to have his next battle, which would have been ideally against Tom Brady, but that didn't happen. So really, was anyone really going to be looking forward to another NFC North matchup of Aaron Rodgers against, Matthew Stafford? The Rams look pretty good, and I don't really know. Who knows? I guess that we never will know what's going to happen there. But, Rodgers, he can't do it. He even had an opportunity to get to the championship with Brady not there, and he still couldn't deliver. So what does this say? You have Green Bay, who dominates the regular season, and they have been since they won the Super Bowl. I believe, 4 years, maybe 5, including this year. They've been the regular season champs. Let's hand it to them. 2011, 2014, 2019, 2020, 5-time regular season champs. You have to hand it to the Packers. And you can see that was the score I picked, and boy, I was way off. Now, there's one thing I will have to say. I am picking on the Packers a lot here, and rightfully so. You guys are the regular season champs. You're supposed to win it every year. You have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and out of that, you can only muster as many championships as you've had Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And then let me just leave you with this one little stat as well, is that Aaron Rodgers has been to as many Super Bowls as Rex Grossman. Okay? But I have another way of kind of letting the Chicago Bears fans know to kind of, enjoy this now, because I'm coming for you next. And we know the Bears, they definitely have their own troubles here. See, it's all right here. I think today I kind of took a look at what was going on, and it's just, some coaches on to the second round. There's, for some reason, a diversity officer involved in this process. It's madness, but this is the Bears. And, since we're in the mood of doing videos, having fun, I thought we'd do another one here and just kind of spotlight what's going on as far as, me shitting on the Packers and letting Bears fans know that you're next.
The car that has that on it.
You don't have to worry. You call my
That's a good one. Laugh it up, drama. You're next.
Just having fun, like I said, right? So, what's going to happen to Aaron Rodgers now that, the Packers season is over? I can't imagine him wanting to stay. Did you hear his comment last night? Oh, no, not about the secret tape we put out there, but, that he's like, I'm not doing no rebuild. He's so much, he's such a great quarterback. He doesn't have I mean, he doesn't have the time to be a part of a rebuild, but he doesn't have that status. He ain't no Tom Brady. How many championships does he have, in the last 5 years? So Rodgers is going to be traded to another team. That's for damn sure. And, I just don't think the Packers would let him walk away and get nothing for it. Why would you do that? This guy's probably going to win the MVP. And you're going to get nothing for that. I don't think that's going to happen. That's not smart personnel management, as they would say. And on a side note, I just don't think Rodgers wants to be there anymore. I mean, he obviously has an axe to grind with management. And if that wasn't tenuous enough, or tenuous situation enough, I mean, someone leaked his vax status. I mean, then on top of that, I mean, I don't even have this graphic-wise, but I guess when Biden was out a week or so ago, he saw someone in a Green Bay jacket, and he's like, tell your quarterback to get vaccinated. And then Rodgers came out in an ESPN article and basically just ripped Biden, and rightfully so. And I never thought I'd find myself agreeing with Aaron Rodgers on anything, but hey, well, at least it's outside of football, I guess, right? So, I'm not breaking any other news here, but, there are obviously teams that are in the market for a quarterback. And, you have Pittsburgh that I guess is kind of on the market, but I don't really know if that's a place for Rodgers to go to. But it looks like he might be going to the Broncos. And if that's not a done deal, the Broncos are certainly preparing for the inevitable. And we can see that here if I can just get rid of that. And it just makes you wonder, who's making all these preemptive moves to make sure they have the right space for a trade. I mean, the Denver Broncos definitely have done that. Can you imagine if they bring in some of the coaches from Green Bay? I mean, that's a big preemptive move right there. So what happens to Green Bay if Rodgers leaves? I mean, obviously that's going to leave a giant hole in one of the most important positions on offense. But, I mean, we also save $20 million a year, so there is that. But, as his replacement, you have Jordan Love, but there's a lot of question marks there. But, they're also going to be $30 million over the cap, and there's going to be other casualties outside of Aaron Rodgers. If they trade him. And if they keep him, they're still, if they get rid of him, now they're $10 million over. But regardless, they're going to be over, so moves have to be made. And obviously trading Rodgers would help this issue to create more depth, so you could just cut players and kind of cut some fat off the roster, because they have a lot of guys there that they either are going to have to pay or they're currently paying right now. And where does that leave, soon to be free agent Devonte Adams? I mean, this guy has said he wants to be paid like DeAndre Hopkins, and that's north of $20 million a year. So even if you get rid of Rodgers, you're still on the hook, $20 million for the receiver. You're still in the same spot. So that defense they have is going to, I mean, I can't imagine them not probably making some cuts on the defensive side of the ball. And spending money on wide receivers anyway is just kind of a lost cause. I mean, does anyone remember the guy named Eric Decker? That guy, I think, was playing with Denver, caught all those passes when Peyton Manning was there, went to the Jets. He's gone. I've never heard of him since. I think he was pretty injured after the fact, but it doesn't matter. He couldn't stay healthy. He couldn't catch. You need a quarterback. A wide receiver is only as good as the guy throwing to him, I mean, the sky is blue also, right? So where does that leave the Packers? I mean, you have Jordan Love. I mean, are they going to, just go with him and not draft someone? I mean, there's a lot going on here as far as what the Packers are going to do. And then even outside of Devonte Adams, there's a few other guys that are ready to be paid as well. I mean, we all know the history about Green Bay and paying their players, let alone signing big free agents. I mean, there a few of them is you have cornerback Jair Alexander. You have your 5-tool offensive lineman, Elgton Jenkins. I mean, both of these guys are going to be on the market receiving between $15 and $20 million apiece. What about your other offensive lineman, David Bakhtiari? I mean, the market for him is set between $17 and $20 million. And again, that's barring, how healthy his knee is. I mean, you're going to have Randall Cobb, defensive lineman Dean Lowry, Preston Smith. These guys are going to be cap casualties, especially if they sign Devonte Adams or how, I think he still has another year, but, they might talk extension. There's just so much up in the air for this team. And I'll be honest with you, for the Packers, that's a lot of cheddar to be throwing around, pun intended for sure. And it's also quite a tough pickle to be in because you have your quarterback, the heart and soul of your team, the reason he's the reason you're the regular season champs. Is he the reason you're not getting to the next spot? There's an argument to be made there, but I'm not going to make that one because it doesn't matter. He can't get over the hump. So why even have the argument? We already have the result. And the GM's office is tasked with keeping a top defense together without breaking the bank. And, they've already broke the bank. They're $30 million over the cap. You need an offense in this league. And, Green Bay, I'm going to assume, trusts their ability, their general manager's ability to draft. Therefore, I can only see them, cutting a few players and then just replacing that depth through the draft. And like I said, those two offensive linemen earlier, Jenkins and Bakhtiari, they're going to get paid, and it's just a matter of who's going to pay them, and I doubt it's going to be the Packers. So the Packers got a lot of holes on the roster in the future. They're going to have a giant black hole at quarterback if they trade Aaron Rodgers because, maybe you'll get a lot of draft capital. You're never going to get a player to take his place in that moment. So that replacement of Rodgers that you get through draft capital, that's going to be 3 to 5 years before you even see a return on investment there. So when you talk to most Packer fans about this, or if you even listen to some of the pro Green Bay podcasts, one thing is pretty evident is they know the writing is on the wall for Rodgers and the future success of the Green Bay Packers. But they don't acknowledge this. And that's by choice, if you ask me. It's like, it makes me think of that one meme. Yeah, which one is it? There it is. Everything is fine. This is fine. This is like me when I woke up and looked at crypto this morning. Thanks, Putin. So, this kind of also reminds me of the Democrat National Party as it stares down the 2022 midterms elections, knowing that not only are they going to lose power, but they're going to, they're not only, they're walking into these elections knowing that they are not only going to lose power, but they have to walk into work every day pretending that everything is fine. All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you so much for tuning in to Ready Said Podcast. It's been, I love the video podcast. It's great. This is good stuff. I feel like I'm alive, I guess, and I'm not just mumbling into a mic like a madman. As you can see, there's a lot of changes still. It's a different shot every day. I'm sure the lighting's kind of always messed up, or that's probably just me pointing that out like the Streisand effect. But I just wanted to say that we're actually going to be on break next week. Me mom is coming into town, so I'm going to lose the studio for a little bit. But it'll be back and running early February, we'll say. And I think right now I have it set for 2 days a week. I'm going to do 2 podcasts this week, but I'm going to have to scale it back down to 1 day a week after that. Let's just get my little cheat sheet here. So please don't forget to like and follow the podcast. Please follow us on YouTube. We are on Rumble. You can follow us on Facebook, and please like the page. Subscribe and click the bell if you're going to follow us on YouTube. We're also available on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Spreaker. And if you can't find the podcast on YouTube, we will definitely be on Rumble. All right, everyone. Thanks again. Thanks for tuning in. And this is your one-stop shop current events and politics podcast. If society's a joke, then we're just here for the first set. See you next week, you fucks.